Welcome to our Rejuvenation and Resilience series and our 8th and final Wellness Wednesday video. Today we are joined by ATB's Sherri Hilton. Sherri leads leadership development and internal coaching in our PNC world. She is a certified executive coach who supports leaders in finding deeper meaning and purpose in their personal and professional lives and in manifesting the results they desire. Isn't that what we all want? We've invited Sherri to come and chat with us today about life, wellness, and achieving our goals. So welcome, Sherri.
Hi, Tara. Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I was really excited for the opportunity.
Well, I am looking forward to this, but we can start with a simple question.
Hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how you came up for the title of our chat today, From I Wish to I Rock, and how you slightly improved on the one that I had suggested, which was How to Set Your Wellness Goals?
Which was a fine title. I Rock for me suggests a really bold, fierce, and focused and intentional approach to living the lives we desire. I truly believe, and you and I have talked about this a number of times in other conversations, I truly believe that we are solely responsible for what we manifest in our lives, for our successes and or our failures, and that we have all of the answers within us that will help us live our very best lives. And so when I think about I Rock, I'm also aware of the challenge that many of us have in making the time or being very intentional around examining our inner world and our insights and our intuition and our reasons for things and our passions and our purpose, and to let those really guide us in realizing the vision that we ultimately want for our lives. Wellness. I thought, wellness for me really begins with that solid foundation of understanding self and examining those underlying beliefs, behaviors, attitudes, values, assumptions, mental models, stories, whether they're true or not, and that all of these manifest as our outer world and our actions and ultimately the lives that we live. So I Rock, just to sum that up, I Rock is really about intentionality. It's around articulating your clear and compelling why, and then identifying some very smart, simple, helpful strategies and supports to help you achieve your goals.
Wow, I can think of so many things that relate to my own wellness goals and also to ATB Wellness. I know that you are a passionate advocate about establishing a strong foundation for ourselves and living and making choices from a place of consciousness. I know you just mentioned intentionality, but also that consciousness. Can you tell us more about what is living from a reactive place versus living from a creative place?
Wow. Well, this is one of my very favorite topics, as you know, and it's a very big one. So I'm going to do my very best right now to condense it down into a Coles Notes version. So it's helpful to frame it this way. Think about your foundation, your inner world, your inner structure. Much like an iPhone has an internal operating system, you also have an internal operating structure. And your structure, your internal world, and by that I mean those beliefs, values, assumptions, ways you make meaning of things, your mental models, the stories you have, all of that stuff inside of you determines your outer world. So your internal operating structure determines your outer world. And when I talk about consciousness, because you mentioned that word, the more conscious you are, the more aware you are of that internal world of yours, the more you're going to understand the choices you make and how it's manifesting in your outer world. These are the words of a very famous leadership mentor, I guess I would call him to me, Bob Anderson. And he says, consciousness is the operating system of your performance. And I'm going to link that to wellness goals because I know that's what we're talking about today. So when you think about setting goals, wellness goals, or goals of any kind, really, it's always key to understand your inner world, your inner structure, your operating system, why that goal is important to you, and how those beliefs, assumptions, mental models, values, ways you make meaning, etc., how all of those things could impact those choices you're making, those goals you're setting, and ultimately the results you're seeing. When I work with leaders, one of the things I do is I help them really hold up that mirror and understand that inner operating structure so that they can also then understand why things are manifesting the way they are in their outer world. So again, in summary, consciousness is really, the operating system of our performance. And we talked, you and I previously have had several conversations about reactive versus creative. And I want to just frame it very simply for our listeners today. When we are living and setting goals and making choices from a place of reactivity, we're often not aware of it. That's one thing I know for sure. It's often a very unconscious behavior. But you will know by simply asking yourself this: is this choice I'm making, or is this goal I'm setting, or is this action I'm taking, am I doing it to avoid something, to get away from something? Is it from a place of fear or anxiety or worry or stress or negativity? Those are all associated with operating from a reactive place. So staying in a cycle of reactivity will generally cause you to get results and then to revert back to old behaviors. And I've got a really great story. It has a happy ending, and I'll share that in a few minutes here. But next time you're making a decision or setting a goal, just ask yourself this question: am I trying to get away from something? Am I avoiding something? Is there like a fire-breathing dragon on my back here that's causing me to make this choice or set this goal? That's often a sign that it's coming from a reactive place. Now, when we think about, living and making choices and setting goals from a place of creativity, the easiest way to frame that up is it is energy unleashing. Energy unleashing. It is inspiring. It is hopeful. It is full of passion. It's exciting. It causes you to feel maybe a little bit nervous, but also really, really great. So that's how you're going to know that that choice you're making, that goal you're setting, that action you're taking is from a creative place. And it's also about having a very clear why. Why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? Why does this matter so much to me? Or does it? And, I link it to that word I know we're all familiar with, vision. What is the clear and compelling and exciting and energy unleashing vision that you have for your wellness?
And I know what really helped me when we were talking about this to make it so tangible, this idea of reactive versus creative, avoiding versus moving towards something, is the story you just mentioned about your friend and about how she started off creating her wellness goals and then transformed it into a different type of wellness goals.
Yeah. So I have a very dear friend, and she's been we've been friends for, I think, about 30 years now, and been through lots together. And, for many years, she really, really struggled with her wellness. And specifically, it was really around extra weight, and it was compromising her health. She was really on the borderline for diabetes. She smoked a lot, I think almost a pack a day of cigarettes. And she knew that she didn't want to be that way. And at the same time, she wasn't clear on why she wanted it to be different for her. So I'd say for a number of years, to be very candid with all of you, she didn't even want to talk about it for the longest time. And I certainly wasn't going to poke her with anything. But then the conversation started, and often they would start not long after January 1, and it would sound fairly similar. And it would be something like, you know what, Sherri, this is the year I'm going to lose 50 pounds. That was usually around the amount I wanted to lose. And I'm going to quit smoking. And I would say, oh, okay, great. And she said, you know what, I am tired of feeling crappy. I don't want to feel sick. I don't want my knees to hurt anymore. I don't want to, be out of breath when I climb the stairs. And, when I think about how she framed it, it was always about what she didn't want or what she was trying to get away from. So I don't want to feel sick. I don't want to feel tired. I'm tired of feeling crappy. I'm tired of being out of breath. And that was enough to motivate her to take some action. None of those are positive energy unleashing emotions, though. They're all pretty negative. But it did motivate her to take some action. And the action was usually a combination of personal trainer, gym memberships, some type of fitness classes, and some really crazy fad diets thrown in there, like grapefruit drinking, juice drinking for a whole month and stuff like that. And of course, it would get her some results. She would lose anywhere. I remember one year she actually lost almost 60 pounds, but not sustainable. And one of the reasons it wasn't sustainable is because, well, it wasn't a healthy way to do it, but also she didn't have that clearly articulated why for herself. That vision was missing. Why do I want to be well? What does wellness look like for me? Why does it matter to me? And so, to be honest, I really don't coach my friends. It's kind of a space I stay out of. We can have conversations. I might ask a few great questions, but if I have someone close to me who's interested in coaching, I will refer them to a coach. And I referred her to a life coach, and her life changed at that point. And she would share with me some of the work they were doing together. And one of the really important things, one of the biggest pieces and most valuable and incredible pieces of work they did together was around helping her articulate her vision for her wellness and why it mattered to her more than anything else. So our conversations went from, I'm tired of being sick, I don't want to lose my breath anymore, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, to, I want to be able to hike the West Coast Trail with my husband next summer. I want to be able to travel through Ireland and hike the whole way with my son. I want to do this. I want to wake up and I want to breathe the air and I want to taste the food. And the conversation changed completely. And now, 5 years later, she is still 70 plus pounds lighter, no longer a smoker, and honestly, a completely different woman and loving life and really, really just feeling incredibly different.
That's just so powerful. I think in my life, my personal life, my professional life, I don't think you could find a single person that couldn't relate to that story. And all the times that we've set a goal out of a place of fear or avoidance or about what we don't want. And just even if anyone watching and listening takes that one piece of advice away, framing your goals around your vision and your values and what you want in life. And my favorite words, energy unleashing.
Yes.
Something to really look forward to. But also, let's talk about what to do when you fall off the wagon.
You bet. And we all fall off the wagon. She fell off the wagon. I fall off the wagon. We all fall off the wagon. Absolutely. My first piece of advice is please, please, please practice self-compassion. Do not beat yourself up about this. Whatever it is, get back on the wagon. Drop that harsh inner critic, that judgmental voice inside. You are human, and treat it. I used to say to my son growing up, sweetie, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. And that's really the key. Take that lesson and around that, be very intentional about reflecting, getting curious about what happened. What were the triggers for you? What was going on? How were you feeling? Where were you? What are the emotions coming up? Were you moving towards something? Were you trying to get away from something? Just use those sorts of questions, those deep reflective questions to understand better what happened for you and then learn from it. And as you know, I'm a huge, huge fan, and I know Lauren Rubis is too, a huge fan, and I'm sure many other leaders are as well, of journaling and actually having a physical book, whatever kind of book you like, and just writing in that thing, and just keeping track of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and your questions and your curiosities and your doubts and your fears and whatever it is, dump it all in there. It's a rich, rich, rich source of insight and information for you. And of course, when you do fall off the wagon, just continue to sort of, ask yourself, do I have, or what else could I have to support me? What else do I need to support me? Those structures and systems. And I'll mention those a little bit later in our conversation today. So in summary, practice self-compassion, drop that inner critic, be intentional about reflecting, get super curious with yourself about what happened and why it happened without judgment, and journal.
And in the last 3 or 4 years, I have learned so much about journaling, and there's an actual scientific practice to research the power of writing and journaling. And I know even in all the themes around sleeping, the power of journaling before you go to sleep, And even in the last few weeks with our conversations, I have a journal for about 3 or 4 years. I don't write in it every day, but I've been reading it. I'm up to about 2016 right now. And just like you said, there are moments of clarity. There are moments of connection where you may have asked yourself the same question over and over, where you may see some patterns. And it is really a powerful thing. I don't know what I'd do if I lost my journal, right? It's so valuable, and all those insights and all those learnings. And it's often, I wrote in my journal, I often wrote, be kind to yourself. The other thing I thought about when you talked about falling off the wagon is all the science around how our behaviors are contagious and how to really invest in your tribe. So who are the 4 or 5 people that you spend the most time with? They could be at work, they could be at home, they can be your partners, your kids, all those things, because your tribe will influence you. And so when you fall off the wagon, turn to your tribe to support you and lift you up. Yeah.
I love that. That's so powerful. Yes. Yeah. And identify who your tribe is. And you're right. Those people can really impact your behaviors.
That's right. Okay. Let's try to move towards connecting all of this rejuvenation and resilience themes to the importance of having a wellness goal.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I reflected on this question, I really thought about the work I do with leaders, and I do a lot of coaching work with leaders. And one very, very strong theme I have noticed, and there's several, but the one that we're focusing on today is typically leaders and individuals who strike me as the most resilient, the most able to bounce back from setbacks and challenges and adversity, are also people who put a high value on wellness practices and really maintain their wellness practices faithfully. So things like leaders who take time to meditate daily, and leaders who take time to purposefully rejuvenate, and leaders who put their phone aside and say, I'm not touching it for this amount of time. I'm going to just dial into time with my family here and be really present. They are also often the people, when something just comes at them full force, they're able to not overreact or freak out or lose it, or whatever that looks like. They can handle it much better. So I see a very strong interconnectedness there with being well and being intentional about wellness, and also being able to really handle life's challenges, setbacks, and adversity.
I love that. And I know there's a great metaphor and a visual you have as well. Maybe you want to share
that. Absolutely. I think about a tree, a big, huge tree that's strongly rooted into the ground, and the roots are deep. Sometimes they're as deep as the height of the tree. And so, things can come at that tree, storms and wind and hail and rain and hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever. But the tree remains rooted. It may bend over, some twigs might snap off, a whole branch might snap off, but the tree remains strongly rooted. And, I know in conversations I've had with leaders and coaching conversations, this metaphor comes up quite a lot. And I'll say, how strongly rooted are you? How strongly rooted are you? And, the stronger your foundation and the deeper the roots, the more you're able to withstand everything swirling around you.
And I think that metaphor ties into some of your messages too about intentionality and consciousness and awareness. And, those are how you grow those roots and you become so grounded. Another thing you mentioned are some smart, simple, helpful wellness strategies. So Sherri, what are some of your favorite wellness strategies?
Yeah, I've mentioned a couple already. So this is a bit of a summary just to summarize what I've said so far. But really, one of the great encouragements I'd love to really nudge everyone with today is get clear on your why. Why does being well matter to you? What does it look like for you? Ideally, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20, 30, I don't know, 60, 100. What does well mean for you? And really map that vision out for yourself. How do you really see yourself a year from now, 6 months from now, 5 years from now? So get clear on your why. Why does it matter? And, on that note, ask yourself, Are the goals I'm setting and the actions I'm committing to, does that excite me? Does it fill me with passion and purpose? Is it energy unleashing? Or is it just filling me with dread and like I'm trying to get away from something? Stay away from that stuff. Move toward energy unleashing. And then I haven't talked much about this one, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but when we set goals, so let's say I'll just pick a goal. Let's say the goal is, I want to run a 10K this year, as an example. That's a great goal, and then break it down and break it down and break it down. So take any goal and break it down into really small, bite-sized, actionable chunks. So yeah, maybe I want to run a 10K by May. Maybe that's my goal. And that's great, but what am I going to do this week? What am I going to do today? What am I going to do, within the next 6 hours? Like, you can break it down as small as you need to, but continue to kind of distill. And then also think about, the structures and supports and resources and the tribe that you surround yourself with, and that will help you stay on track. Just a couple examples from my own life, and this can look so different for everyone, but my yoga mat is in my car, my gym bag is in my car. I have drop-in passes to 4 different types of fitness studios so that I can always find a time of day that I can go do something. I have a big dog, a Siberian Husky, who really forces me to get out there and run and walk. And one of the reasons I chose that dog was for that reason. I have friends who are very active, and we like to poke each other to go to yoga or go cycling together, whatever it is that day. So think about how have you surrounded yourself and set up those structures, systems, supports, and resources to support you in being successful. My last little bit of advice is just some little short blurbs for you. Have fun, because if you're not having fun, you're probably not going to stick with it in the long term. Try new stuff, shake it up, change up your routine, take some risks, learn and grow, and stay curious. And how about this? Try this question and see what answer you come up with. Someone poked me with this question last week, and I loved it so much, so I want to share it with you. How old would I be if I didn't know how old I was? How old would I be if I didn't know how old I was? So take that with you as well and see what your answer is.
And you don't have to share your answer, Sherri, about how old you are or you think you are, but I'm guessing you would think you are younger than your biological age, just by the energy that you unleash on all of us.
Well, I would agree with that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. So Sherri, when you think about your own wellness goals, how do you see yourself? How are you going to rock it in retirement?
Yeah.
Not that you're close to retirement. Don't mishear me, but we're talking about visions and goals and thinking about the future. So in the long foreseeable future, how are you going to rock it in retirement?
Yeah, and even that word retirement, and I'm pretty sure Lauren has written a blog about that very word, and I remember feeling very aligned with his viewpoint. I don't actually see myself retiring. I see myself evolving and growing and transforming, a lifelong transformation. That's how I see it, and that's how it's been for me up to this point, and it's very much my intention to continue on that path. One thing I know for sure is I'm very clear on my why it matters to me to be well, why my wellness matters to me, how I want to feel, how I want to look, how I want to show up for other people in my life. I'm very, very clear on all of those things, the vision for my being really and my wellness. So for me, the choices that I make, the activities I become involved in, those fun things, those new risks I take, they're always in service to that vision I have for my life and my wellness, always. I honestly can't remember the last time I said, I'm trying to get away from something versus I'm moving towards something. And it's, like I said, it's energy unleashing, it's inspiring. If you ask any of my close friends or family who know me really well, they would say, okay, yeah, Sherri always says the same thing. She says she's going to live to be at least 99, And my last day on earth, I want to be teaching a yoga class. That's that's how I want it to end.
Oh,
And so
I
that's
love that.
so that's how I
I
see it.
want to be in that class. That'll be my new vision. My vision that I hold on to is somehow there's this a really amazing birthday party on my 90th birthday. I'm an event planner at heart, so there's always a party involved in my vision. And most of the people I love are there, and they're healthy because we've had that focus and that vision and that consciousness around our wellness as much as we can. So yeah, I can relate, and maybe I'll be in that class on that day.
That would be so fun. I would love it. I would love it. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, the pleasure is mine for sure. And I think I would love to just take a minute to thank you for this great conversation, for sharing your rich experiences, for sharing your personal practices. My top takeaways are really this whole big theme of moving from reactive to creative, reflecting on things that are energy unleashing. I mean, that to me really is loud and clear. And when I am setting a goal, to set a goal around something I want to move towards.
Thank you so much, Tara.
Our pleasure. So please check out all 8 of our rejuvenation and resilience videos in this series. This is our grand finale. And on that note, I hope that all of you will have some time to think about how you can go from I wish to I rock.